Hi, I'm Alicia Culp, and welcome to another episode of Creating Through Crisis. I have so thoroughly enjoyed this process of kind of coming up with the idea and then starting to reach out and connect and collaborate with other leaders, hearing their stories and having it come together and being able to post some of this information. I mean, it has been a lot of fun during a really challenging time for all of us. And also, I hope it's been an inspiration to you as you're hearing their stories. And, really, it's all about a learning experience for many of us. These are new waters that we're treading in. So I have been with a good group right now in learning and experimenting and having fun with the process. And that kind of leads to my next guest. When I floated the idea out to her about creating this, I was just thinking a very simple, I'm going to film with Zoom and it's going to be fairly simple and fairly easy. It was, but I, came across a couple of challenges along the way. And when I reached out to her, she immediately said, look, yes, I want to participate. And yes, my team will help you edit and even create a simple website. Most of my marketing has been word of mouth, client referrals, just building those relationships along the way. I purposefully had not gone down that path of building a website, but I'm very thankful that she offered and they jumped in and did a great job and pulled together something that I'm proud of with the edited the videos that you're seeing today. She is always thinking, the mind is always learning, and she takes really big ideas and pulls a team together and is able to actually make it happen, which is really exciting to be around. So with that introduction, I'm very, very pleased to have our next guest, Jennifer Thompson, the president of Insight Marketing Group. Thanks, Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for sharing some time with me. I'm really happy to have you here. I know you have a lot of different irons in the fire, so I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here, Alicia.
Yeah, you're welcome. Why don't you share with us, because you actually have two businesses that you have founded and that you're running now, just give us a quick overview of both of those and what you're doing right now.
So in 2006, I started my own kind of marketing company, and right before the recession back then. And in 2008, I had the opportunity to land a big healthcare client. And ever since I landed that healthcare client, we went into healthcare exclusively. So now we have a marketing agency that does a lot of the tactical marketing necessary for doctors to run a practice, but also that provides a lot of strategic marketing for them as well. And we work only with independent physician groups for the most part. Okay. And we've really found a good niche, and we've been doing that exclusively within healthcare since 2008. Then a couple of years ago, I kept having doctors come to me and saying, hey, Jen, I want you to bury all the negative reviews about me online. And finally, it got to the point I said, doctor, we can't bury your negative reviews. We need to get to the bottom of your negative reviews. And that kind of was like the catalyst for starting a second company called Insight Training Solutions, where we put together training programs, both on demand and in person, that focuses around the idea of honing in on the elements that impact the patient experience. And so we now have the opportunity to handle kind of marketing, external and internal from an employee engagement standpoint, but then also to provide the training that's going to impact the way that the public perceives a particular practice.
Makes sense. I mean, what a benefit for them, right? They can focus on what they do so well, and you're able to start at the very beginning, right? Start at the core of making sure that customer service, patient experience is excellent and they have great training. And then on the other side, how they actually appear to the public and how they manage their responses, and also some employee engagement. So pretty cool.
Absolutely. And it was Richard Branson, who I'm sure wasn't the original person to say it, but said basically, like, if you take care of your employees, they'll take care of your business. And so I think it really drives down to, don't spend all your money marketing your practice if you don't have your own house taken care of. And so the point is that we can run the gamut now and take care of the house and the external. So it all seems to be working out.
That's awesome. I know we've talked about this, and you have a strong sense of purpose in what you do. And we've talked a little bit about Simon Sinek and knowing your why. And I'm wondering what that means to you, having that sense of purpose, and what's your why for doing this?
Yeah, for me, it's always been about being part of something bigger than just me and providing opportunities for other people throughout whatever it is that I do. So it's never been about just me. It's always been about the community. And it comes from, I think it comes from my childhood, where I was born to a super young mother, and she ended up working nights. And I was home on my own to take care of my younger brother all the time because she was busting it to do it. And the only reason that I sit here and I'm even able to have this conversation with you is because the entire community kind of enveloped around me to make sure that I was on the right path. And I think that was something that it ended up really resonating with me and who I became. And so I've always kind of had that sense of what's next, who can I bring along with me, how can we all be together so that we can be part of something bigger than us. And so sometimes when I think like, what am I doing? Well, I'm doing this because I know I'm doing it to help the entire group, not just me.
Wow. Thanks for sharing on that personal side too. That makes a lot of sense as to why that would be in your fiber. You know, you've lived that experience and why it's really important to get back to the community and build a strong team. So I love that you shared that too. So thank you. You know, you've got this interesting background of both having served in the public service realm, right, of having been elected twice to the Orange County Board of County Commissioners. So, you know, that's a big feat. And then also running your business at the same time. So you've got this unique perspective. How has that influenced your leadership insight during this time? You know, have walked in both of those worlds.
I feel as if I've been training for this for a long time. I didn't realize I was training, but all the elements have come together. I mean, look, go back to even before I was elected. I had another business at one point that my ex-husband and I had grown and built and sold. And we went through the first recession. So I feel as if that experience prepared me, whether I knew it or not, for what is happening now. But my role in an elected position, I think, has really prepared me for dealing with difficult situations, but also for just kind of helping me understand a lot of different, really deep issues, and then being able to make, to articulate myself, to make kind of calculated decisions based on the information I've had. And so a lot of people will say like, well, how do you know that's the right choice? Well, I know, like, I sense that things are the right choice because I've put so much into it preparing, and I read a lot, and I try to be observant of things that are going on. And, you know, I'm able to make decisions and stick to them because when you're in elected office, that's what you do all the time. And sometimes your decisions are right and sometimes they're wrong, but they're based on the information that you have. And so, you know, you'll always have a leg up if you're all about going and getting as much information so that when the time comes that you've got these experiences to draw from, and where you don't have experiences, you've got the literature or the data to back it up. And then, you know, you're always preparing for whatever it is. And so for me, when kind of the crisis hit, I was prepared because I've been kind of cataloging all along where strategically I wanted to go. And I knew from what happened in 2008 that I needed to make really fast decisions. And, you know, it's not like I was thinking this is what has to happen, but I was quick to make the decisions because I knew I needed to do that in order to move forward.
Yep. I see that. I've talked to others, but certainly witnessing, kind of being on the periphery. We worked together some, just saw how fast you moved during that time. And I do think anybody who was in a leadership position or certainly running a business in 2008, think of all of those lessons that we learned, that I just feel like, you know, you're never the same after that, what you go through. And the best you can do is just apply it going forward, right? Is like take the best nuggets, both good and bad, of what you learned from that and apply it going forward. So you were able to, I think, probably apply for some of the loans and get your money kind of situation, right? Like know where your cash flow was and know where your finances stood was probably a big piece of it.
You know, years ago, I had gone through, and in political life, I had gone through a really rough patch where I had made, I don't want to say I'd made poor decisions, but I had made some unpopular decisions. And in retrospect, I may have approached them differently. But I had a gentleman that I really considered a mentor, and he had been really high up in the military and had recently retired, and Central Floridian, and like admiral level retirement. And we were sitting down one morning for a cup of coffee, and I was like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. And he said, Jen, stop worrying about what you did or you didn't do. There are no wrong decisions in this. It's the inability to make a decision that's the wrong decision. And that's really stuck. And so, you know, I think that you have to act fast, at least for me during the pandemic. Yes, I got, like, I knew that if I wanted to be a good leader for my small team, that I needed to have my ducks in a row and I needed to look at the finances. So last year, actually, I started thinking about the recession and started putting the money aside for the business. But I was extremely quick to immediately, from a personal standpoint, apply for a refi before it got crazy. Because I remember back in 2008, you couldn't do it. And then 2 months later, it's been 2 months, they just deposited the refi money in my account today.
Wow.
But now I know that's there. Should I need it? If not, it'll go back in the bank or it'll go back towards my house. It was good. And it ended up all working out. In my business, I cut everything I had to cut. I immediately applied for any layers of credit that I could get. I took out a loan even before they talked about PPP, and I pulled that cash immediately. So I had cash flow. But what I really did is I was very open and very transparent with my team. I said, here's what we have in the bank. Here's what the next, hopefully 6 weeks to 2 months is going to look like. If we have to make some cuts, this is the way that I think I will go about it. I'm sorry to the folks that will be affected. And then if we get to a certain point, we'll talk about taking systematic cuts across the board. And if I secure the money that I need to make sure I'm good, then I'll be willing to be the first one to make the cut. And so that's kind of, being transparent and just making sure my financial ducks were in a row. That was the most important. And then it gave us clarity so that then we weren't, riddled with stress. Instead, we were able to focus on the business and growing and doing the things we needed to do.
Excellent. Everybody's on the same page. They know you shared. It's clear. I'm sure you got input, some feedback too from them, or, we're open to some ideas along the way because, right, it's like more brains are
yes,
often
absolutely.
better. So, yeah, but that's great. I know. So once you were in the midst, and a lot of companies, right, they're still in this mode of trying to figure out tactically what they need to do, and you're still working through that as well. But you were able to really shift fairly quickly into that guerrilla strategy, like boo, 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 make some things happen that were new for your team, and like share a little bit of that with us. I always think that that's really exciting.
Yeah. So for us, we typically work in an office together, most of us. And then some of us are kind of on the peripheral, and I talk to people when I can. And I try to be really, very protective of my time so that I can give it to clients. I try not to get too sidetracked. But in this instance, what I did immediately is I started a daily morning huddle with everybody. And now I really try to, even if it's not a productive use of my time, I try to make myself available for some of the folks who maybe I wouldn't have talked to that often because they were fine on their own. Now I have a lot of conversations to make sure that they're getting kind of the feedback and whatnot that they need. And through those conversations, I feel like that's where great ideas come from. And I also try to segment so that the folks that are getting the work done, the tactical folks, are not overwhelmed by the possibility of all these things that may or may not come through the pipeline. So I try to segment out and compartmentalize things that are going on. But for what happened with us is because we work only with medical, immediately we saw that there was going to be a need for telehealth. And we knew the couple dozen practices that we work with, maybe 2 of them were ready to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. So we basically cut our team in half, and we said, this half of the team is going to become very quickly subject matter experts on telemedicine implementations. And let's figure out how we can get practices set up within 24 hours. And then this team over here is going to work on, once we get people set up, how do we market that and what's that messaging going to look like and how do we execute it at scale? And so we made that decision within maybe 48 hours of kind of the world shutting down, which our indicator of the world shutting down was when Disney closes, we're closing, like we're getting out of here. And we've also said, we're not going back to the office until Disney is taking people in, because we know they're going to be like, they're all over it. So we're going to be like, that's our
lead the way. They'll lead the way.
So yeah, it really worked out. And we were able to do the telemedicine. We were able to become a, not just a resource for our clients, but somebody they needed to have in those conversations. Corey, one of the young men that works for me, who has been around for about 15 years now, he was one of, he took the lead on the telemedicine. And he will tell me horror stories of practices calling him and saying at 7 o'clock at night, saying, Corey, I have the doctors like on the line. Can you come explain this to them? And can you answer their questions? And he would jump into a Zoom call with 25 doctors, you know, from like 60 to 30, and running the gamut.
No planning.
And nobody understands like how to talk on Zoom. So they're all talking over each other. And he was just having to answer questions and get it done. And we got it done. And kudos to him, because he was the right personality at the right time, because he's cool, calm, and collected, and he kept it together. And everybody, where typically we might cross over roles, it wasn't that way. We each had our own role. My job was to make sure that all the cats were herded and that I was communicating and keeping us on the straight and narrow and making sure everybody got what they needed. But it worked for us. And I think at the end of this, we're going to come out stronger.
Oh, that's great. Love being able to share that and put that out there, like out into the universe. So,
yeah,
so others hear that, right? It is a time that you can grow, you can bring on new clients. There are opportunities. I hear sometimes the opposite, you know, being said, and I think it's so important that we keep hearing these stories, keep knowing, kind of seeing the light, seeing ways to be able to get through it, and hear others' ways that they have been able to kind of achieve success. So it sounds like you got very clear, very fast. You saw the need. You were able to define it for your team very quickly, so that everybody had their role and they knew what to execute on. It rallies people, doesn't it? When there's so much like mental, there's fear, there's that mental chatter out there, uncertainty. When you have something that's very immediate that you can act on, I mean, that's great for a team, right? It's like the mission, it's mission possible. It's like we can all come together and make it happen. I mean, that strengthens the team like nothing else.
Yeah, I don't know that any of them, I mean, don't get me wrong. We're a very tight knit team, and we're about 7, sometimes 8 people. And we're a very tight knit team, and we work on deadline. We're very good at pivoting already, but I don't know that any of them have been through anything like this at this level. And it's a little concerning as well, because you can only run at this pace.
That's right.
And be effective so much, which is partly why we do the daily huddle more than anything. It's to, make sure we're all on track, but really just to have that check-in to make sure we're all doing okay.
That's excellent, right? It's a marathon, you know, like it's a sprint, deadline driven, high on the details. There's so many details. Everything has to be executed at the top level of like excellence on a regular basis. And that's a pressure cooker for people, you know, so I'm glad that you just keeping the lines of communication open. I know you try to have some fun along the way, right? Shift schedules and move people around so everybody can kind of take a little bit of time when they can. But it sounds like that telemedicine implementation was a great opportunity in so many ways, like great learning opportunity, new skill sets, you know, just stretch and learn, and great for the business. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. Worked out, and I think it's deepened our relationships with our clients, which is always good.
Yeah, so you can actually help implement, and then you're also then turning around and you're able to market, promote, educate, do all of those things along the line. So that's awesome. Going back to your team, I know you have this core loyal team that you've worked with for a while. We've talked about their strengths, looked at their strengths, a lot of strategy, a lot of strategic thinking, a lot of achievement. It's a high performance team. So what have you done to keep them engaged? Because they've been with you for a while. Keep them engaged, keep them focused, keep them loyal.
Over the years, not just right now, but over the years, I've really tried to be intentional about investing in them.
Mm.
And also I go back to, how did I get my start? Like where was that turning point for me? And then how do I take what I learned from that, whether it's conscious or unconscious? I think
Right.
over time it became a conscious thing, but I was 25, 26, and I was working for a large real estate development company for Simon Property Group. And I was running a big shopping center, a big outdoor town center. And I had this job, and part of my role was to get involved in the community. And somehow I got involved in the local chamber. And my boss at the time supported that, and even though it meant I wasn't at work. And the chamber didn't have anybody, back then it was an opportunity, but I know they were looking at it like, this sucker is going to take over. And so they put the responsibility on me to run the local chamber, which I did for about 4 years, which led to more responsibility taking it on. And I was loyal to the role, whether it was my volunteer role in the chamber or to my company, because they put so much responsibility on me that I felt a responsibility to deliver. And that always resonated with me. So if you get these people who, you don't want people to be bored, you want them to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves. And so I would always, and now it's very conscious, I always give people a little more than I think they can handle, because you're either going to rise to it or you're not. And it's okay if you don't rise to it. Maybe your path is just a little different. It just happens that they always seem to rise to it. And from that, we kind of clearly figure out our roles. And then I give people that level of responsibility, even maybe before they're ready for it, because I know it's going to help set them up and it's going to keep them engaged. And so, yeah, we do perks. We do fun stuff. We all have passes to Disney. We do outings. We go on little trips. We do all kinds of things like that. I pay for training. We do all that. But ultimately, I think it's because they know that they're valued and that this family counts on them to deliver.
Mm-hmm. Perfectly said.
Because they stay around. Like they're awesome.
They are awesome. They are awesome. And it's great to see the interplay of those different strengths come to life, and how they balance and work, how they support the strengths, and then how those different ones actually balance each other out. So that's a lot of fun, isn't it? Like in your seat, you get to kind of see and operate at that other level to be able to see them all come together and make it happen. So
yeah, they're great.
Cool stuff.
They're awesome.
So as we're kind of wrapping up, a couple of last questions. I am wondering what's really inspiring to you right now, because you're talking to other leaders in the community and your clients, and what's inspiring to you?
I am absolutely inspired by the prospect of new opportunity and figuring out things that I haven't figured out before. There's been more than one occasion that I'm like, damn it, I wish I was younger. I wish right now I was starting out and that there were more hours in the day, because I feel like I'm just like spinning, like I want to do that and I want to do that and I want to do that. And I'm so inspired when people figure it out and make it happen. And so when I see a plan come together, it's fantastic. And I will say that I'm very driven by some of these top level conversations that I'm participating in more than ever. And those top level conversations make me want to go deeper with those relationships. So I find it very inspiring, when I see people like just figuring it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. Okay, so at the very end here, wrapping it up, what is the current motto or rallying cry or whatever that you use with you and your team to keep everybody motivated?
Thank God it's not Thursday. That's something internal, because for some reason Thursdays can sometimes be really bad. And so thank God it's not Thursday, which it's Thursday today. Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened, but thank God it's not Thursday. And then there's a lot of suck it up, buttercup. We don't want to do these things right now, but let's tackle what's in front of us, one foot in front of the other. And
make the most of it, right?
That's exactly it. And keep it light.
Yeah.
Because we're running at such a fast pace, and look, sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes somebody's in a mood or something like that, but just remember we're in a small moment of time and that this is a much bigger game. And I think that's a big thing. Business is a game and you should enjoy it. So right now we're kind of watching the pieces move around. So understand what we're dealing with internally on our team. It's not life or death. We're all healthy. So let's just have fun. Let's, get something out of this, intellectually get something out of it. Let's grow as a result.
Awesome. That's great. That's a great note to end on. So thank you so much for spending some time, sharing your insight. Lots of good nuggets here, lots of wisdom,
Love it.
and plus fun to talk. So thank you.
Always.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Alicia. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jennifer. And a special thank you to your team. I really appreciate the support that you've given me. And if anyone is interested in checking out and learning a little bit more about Insight Marketing Group, you can find them at insightmg.com. And if you and your team are going through a time of transition, just facing the challenges today, and you're interested in learning a little bit more of how to play to your strengths and really tap into the unique values and strengths of your team, reach out and let's have a conversation. Thank you. Be well.